Our friends, welcome to the channel. Bob here. Welcome to an Everquest P99 video. Many of you will probably be pleased to know that I'm going to be doing some more stuff on P99 and TAC-P as well. This is kind of like the start of that. I don't really have any other MMOs to play at the moment, so I thought why not go back to what is probably still the best one and do some stuff that I've never done before. This is going to be this first video is going to be kind of like a joint video, just talking a little bit about what I'm going to be doing on P99, but also I've been banging on, moaning, some people would say, about classic MMOs recently, or how modern classic MMOs are lacking. So I thought I would try and put my money where my mouth is and try and work out what is a classic MMO. That's what I'm going to try and work out today. I'm not sure if this video is going to be any good. Maybe it'll be rubbish and you'll never see it. But I want to try and pinpoint some characteristics that classic MMOs had that I think we've lost, and I don't really feel that we're still getting close to getting it back. I just realised that the high elves kind of wear like a bit of a toga-y thing. It's got a lot of chunky legs showing there. The old the old high elf. Yeah, so it's going to be mostly to do with that, but also partly to do with what I'm going to be doing from a character point of view. So I've over the course of the last few years, probably, I haven't done a huge amount in P99, but when I have been playing, I've been collecting some equipment just here and there, picking up bits when I see it for sale that's like suitable for like a melee or a tank class, because I kind of feel that I just neglect those classes, even though I find them quite interesting. Like the Paladin and the Shadow Knight I find particularly interesting. Ranger also to a slightly lesser extent. So I thought what I would do is come into Everquest again and play some classes that I've never played before, just looking for a different experience. And the first character is going to be a high elf paladin. Paladin because I just find it really interesting. I kind of find that combination of tank, kind of healer, and kind of like very budget enchanter almost, and buffer as well, because obviously as a shaman I love buffing, quite like really appealing. I've gone for high elf because I'm quite interested in doing some kind of like dungeony crawling with him, just to test out the whole dungeon crawling experience and possibilities with a paladin, because paladins get like the low line of spells, which will definitely help them. They get like a route for CC as well, so it definitely help them move around a dungeon. So I chose high elf primarily for fashion quest because I really like how they look in armors. I think from a knightly armor point of view, I think human and high elves look the best personally to me. Kind of dark elves coming a fairly close second. But because of the low line, it requires charisma. So the high elves start off with a very high charisma. So I've gone 10 points into charisma, and then I've put some points into strength and stamina. I'm not quite sure if these points are actually worth it, because I imagine paladin equipment has probably got some wisdom and probably a fair amount of strength and stamina on. But yeah, I thought 100 charisma to start off with would be quite good. And then we're going to go in, and what we're going to do is immediately talk about Tunar as well, because I think there's a nice quest for a nice sword. I'm not sure if I'd ever get an epic on this character, but there's a nice sword that you can get where I think the quest is a bit easier. So maybe we'll get to that as well. But now we'll move on to the classic MMO. What is a classic MMO? And I think we'll start off. I've never played a paladin before, other than creating one and just logging in. So this is not new to me, in a sense that I've played a lot of Everquest before, but the class is, and I've kind of haven't really done anything with the Paladin Guild either, so it's all quite new to me, which is quite nice, quite a nice change. Getting on to what is a classic MMO? Well, I think we'll start off with, I guess, what most people would say, kind of like superficial stuff, and that's visuals. I love the visual in Everquest. Like this scene here is just so immersive. It's just fantastic. Yeah, it's low polygon, even for the time maybe. Texture work I actually really like, but it's the overall art style, and I think that's I complain about graphics on modern classic MMOs because they're all using the same engine for a reason, because it just cuts down on costs and it's easier to develop with. I understand that, but I feel that a lot is lost in translation, because you all of the indie MMOs kind of end up looking very similar. They seem to find it quite difficult to differentiate between each other. I remember when I first logged into Embers Adrift, it really felt like Shroud of the Avatar. Project Gorgon kind of feels a bit different, but again, you can tell that there's a lot of store-bought assets and stuff in the game, which is fine. If you're on a budget, it's the way to go. But I do feel that we're losing something. As I said, most people will probably just think visuals are quite superficial and they don't really matter, but I think a strong art style is actually one of the key elements of a classic MMO. Look at Everquest, Asheron's Call, Ultima Online, Dark Age of Camelot, City of Heroes. They all you could immediately tell what games they are if you were an MMO player back then. You could look at a game now. You can look at a game now, or a screenshot from a game now, and without being told what it was, and you would instantly recognise it, because the art style was just amazing. And I guess the thing is, well, first of all, obviously there were probably more artists, so that helps. But I think also when you're limited graphically, I think that you just push yourself more for your visuals to be more artistic, to stand out more, to be more flair. And I think that's really what we're missing in the modern kind of indie classic MMO area. And as I said, I understand it's difficult, because I'm sure artists cost a lot of money and it requires a lot of work to make up all your own models and textures and stuff. But for me, it's important, but I understand that for a lot of people it won't be. And moving on, I think this experience of being put into the world is probably quintessentially a classic experience, in a sense that there's absolutely nothing to tell you what to do within the world from a visual indication point of view. So I've logged in, I've got my inventory here. I noticed that I've got a note in the inventory, in my inventory, but there's nothing here. There's no visual markers. There's nothing above characters' heads telling me where to go or what to do. There's no elaborate introduction to the game, laying out a story. You're just put into the game. This is our MMO. Off you go. Whether this is the best way of doing it or not, I'm not sure. Like, even for a classic MMO, like, maybe we'll talk about that a little bit later. But what I do have is a note, so I use my note, and I've immediately got a task. I need to go and find Master Tinkale or Tinkale, or however the High Elves would have pronounced it. Tinkale sounds quite nice, actually, so I'll go with that. Give him my note, because I'm going to begin my training. I don't know why I'm a paladin or why I'm here. It's because I chose to be a paladin, I guess. So a lot of the storytelling and role-playing element you're kind of making up yourself. The other thing as well, it doesn't tell you where the guild is, where the paladin guild is. I know where the paladin guild is. I know where Tinkale is, so I'll go and hand in my note. But yes, just looking at the visuals here, I just love the visuals. It's just so it's just so much character to it. So I think in here we will find who we're looking for. Here we go. Great lighting as well. I love the lighting. Super immersive. So we're going to give him our note. Let's move that over there. And he gives us a starter tunic to wear. Getting a starter something from your guildmaster at the beginning of the game is genius, I think, because it's an immediate reward. There's immediate feedback, and it makes you feel part of each individual piece that you get. This is specifically for paladins, half elves or high elves. And each tunic or whatever it may be is called something different. So, it now makes you feel a part of the guild. You've been given your first guild piece, you're now part of the guild. So that was a genius idea. I love just something simple as just giving you an item to start off with that makes you feel part of the paladin guild was really, really good. So there's a little bit of text here, not too much. Wants us to defeat evil, train our skills, blah, blah, that kind of stuff. Contrary to popular belief that I hear quite a lot from modern MMO players, is that EverQuest actually has quite a lot of quests, really. I've seen a lot of people say it's called EverQuest, but there's no quest. There are actually quite a lot of quests, but they're just not obvious. You need to go and find them. So I've howled my guildmaster, and he said, "Can you be of service to the clerics of Tunar?" And I say, "I can be of service." It's all the feedback you get from the game is from notes, as you just saw there, or from talking to a character. There's no visual points in the world telling you need to go and talk to this guy because he's got a quest. It's all about you going around finding out for yourself, essentially. And I think that's a key part of a classic MMO, is being put into the world, and you need to go around and manually look for things yourself without being directed around, being told where to go. I think the problem here might... Oh, no, I've got it. Can you be of... Okay. I think what I missed here is I can be of service. You have to kind of copy back at him the part that's in brackets. I know some people say this is very, very old school and maybe archaic, but there you go. I am new to Felwithe. Okay, so he wants us to go to... I want you to venture to Felwithe and seek out Tandan Nightbright. He's an old member of ours. He has some hardships and he fell from Tunar's graces, yet he's still a member of our family. He'll be the one who reeks of elven wine. Greet him by name. We are worried for him. So, I've never done this quest before, but I think there's always some key stuff that's worth remembering here. So it says greet him by name, so I'll write down his name. He reeks of elven wine. Okay, I wonder if that's kind of like... if that will be important later on. But so our guildmaster has set us off on a quest. Now, I do feel that there could have been a bit more here. Maybe the reason I'm missing it, but I feel there could have been a bit more here. I feel that I think what I like about EverQuest is it puts you into the world, and it asks you to go and find your own adventures and role play yourself to a certain extent, a bit like D&D. It's worth remembering that. The back then, the guys who created EverQuest, they were players of MUDs and Dungeons and Dragons, so there are a lot of influences from those games. But I would have liked a bit more agency here for me as a player. So I know, as someone who's played the game a lot, that there's a in the same zone that the city is, there's a dungeon called Crushbone, and there are Crushbone Orcs. I'd like to have seen something maybe where he tells us just a short story. It just gives us a short explanation about what's going on, like why are we here, who are we fighting, politically what's going on, who are our enemies. I think this would have been a good idea to mention the Crushbone Orcs and Crushbone itself. So then you're aware that Crushbone is the location where the orcs live. It's a dungeon as well, so it's something to aim for. It gives you some agency in the world. He's told you a bit about what's going on locally and what's concerning the Paladin Guild. And yeah, I think that would have been a bit more. I think a game can give you too much information. I think that's definitely what modern MMOs do, but I think the game can also not give you enough information, so that would have been quite interesting. There is another option here, Veteran of the Good Fight. I won't do that now because I wouldn't do that as a new recruit. But maybe that gives you a bit more information about Crushbone. I'm not sure, but anyway, yes, the introduction here I think is the introduction to an MMO. I think is very important. To a classic MMO with regards to feeling. So now Felwithe is my oyster essentially. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go around, talk to some NPCs, see if I can find some other quests, And yeah, and just so try and learn something about the city, soak up some of the atmosphere, and see what other mischief I can get myself into. When I've done that, I'll come back. Hello, welcome back. So basically, with a small amount of exploration, I've found what I was looking for. General Jaileel here essentially has given me some information about the Crushbone Orcs. He wants me to go and kill some. He talks about. He asks if I want to assist the defenders. So immediately, I'm now aware that we're at war or we're fighting Crushbone Orcs. I don't know anything about Crushbone, the dungeon itself, at the moment. But he wants me to go and kill some of them to get something for them to study. He's also talking about wanting me to get a note pouch from a Crushbone messenger by looks of things. So yeah, so here we go. So I guess what I was looking for, that agency, that story, is now has now been presented to me. I'm aware that there's something called Crushbone Orcs and who we're fighting with. And yeah, again, doesn't really give you any information on exactly where they are. You need to go and find them yourself. Again, very much a part of the classic MMO experience. There won't be any marks on a map showing me where to go or whatever it may be. It's very much some text, some dialogue, explanation, dialogue in the form of a request, and you need to then go out and find what you need yourself without being pointed to that. So this is really good. The fact that I've now, as a paladin, as a newbie paladin, I've now got an enemy to fight, and I'm also assisting in the defence of the city and the location. So that's really good. Yeah, that's good. I've got what I wanted. That's really, really cool. That was, again, just from walking around hailing the character. He also, let's see what he says. I seek enlighten. See if that gives us another quest. Okay. And seek it within these walls. Okay, well, there's nothing else leading on from that. But anyway, yes, we've now got some yeah, I feel that I'm now part of what's currently going on within the world, whatever it is, politically, war, socially, whatever it may be. So yeah, that's really good. So I've also picked up another quest. I'm not sure if this quest is as good as it used to be, but I was aware of this quest. It's delivering mail, essentially. I think you get some experience and some gold. People used to kind of use this quest to sort of just as a leveling up process, essentially, for the first few levels, maybe. I'm not sure, but we'll go and hand it in and see what happens. But yeah, I just thought I'd point out I've got this quest as well. So I've now got 4 quests to be going on with. So yeah, that's not too bad. So we've joined the game. The game has through notes and talking to NPCs, it's given us some idea of what's going on within the world. And what we need to be doing, and now we can then go on and do that stuff. So here we are in the newbie area. While we may have got some quests and we know what to do, it's not as simple as that in an MMO, obviously. Yeah, we need to improve our character, level up, get stronger, and all that kind of stuff. I think this is probably, along with, like, for me personally, visuals, but I understand that people may not feel the same way about that. But I think along with being put into the world and being given a minimum amount of direction, and it's up to you to work things out yourself, you're not led around by the hand. I think the other thing that I think makes a classic MMO is also very, very, not so much for Ultima Online, but Ultima Online was a very different game. I think an isometric perspective, or a top-down perspective, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to go and kill that skeleton there because he's carrying a weapon. Just gives you a very different feel generally to the whole gameplay experience. So I don't think you can include that. But I played some Asheron's Call recently as well, and Asheron's Call is very similar in the sense that you put into the game, everything is explained to you through notes and talking to NPCs. But also you're put out into the world, and again, there's no direction. You look for mobs that are your level, and you need to go out and kill them and get stronger, as I said. And it's this, again, it's very similar to just being put into the world and given no directions from a quest point of view or whatever it may be. Now, actually, and here we go. This is the classic experience. I've come across my first mob, particularly in Everquest, and I'm struggling, and I could potentially die here in my first encounter. And I think this is very much something that's missing from MMOs as well. See, this, I'm about to die here, definitely. I could run to the guards, actually, so we'll kind of do that. So this is very much the Everquest experience, where something just goes drastically wrong, essentially. So I think the guard might just have saved me. I think just... I keep getting up and I'm knocked unconscious again, then we're getting up. Oh, just about. We're just about in there. Yeah. So there you go. Like my first encounter, although I got jumped by another mob, my first encounter with a mob of my level, bearing in mind I'm level 1, and then there are only level 1 mobs. I can't fight anything lower level. The fight was difficult. I just kept missing, essentially, and he just kept hitting. That's kind of the RNG side of it. Some people might find that frustrating, but what I noticed, I haven't played many melee-based characters in EverQuest. What I do notice is that the first few skill points you get are very important, particularly in offense and defense, I found. Once you start gaining points in offense and defense, that same fight would be very different. But yeah, the world is deadly. It doesn't muck around. Mobs will just attack you. Mobs will social aggro. There will be mobs wandering amongst mobs that are your level, that are higher level. So there's always a danger of you dying, and that's one of the... Again, I think that's a hallmark of a classic MMO, I think, personally. I think, as I said, Ultima Online is a bit of an outlier. It can be quite different, but I kind of remember a similar experience in Dark Age of Camelot, for example. Depending on what you're playing, Asheron's Call could be very similar. But from an EverQuest point of view, I guess this is very much the experience. I guess some people might just find this very frustrating. But I'm a new character, and the game is unforgiving. So I need to work at it and get stronger. And the fact is that you really notice yourself getting stronger in these games. I don't think the bar was the same really with regards to the classic MMOs that I'm playing. I think because you get to where you want to be in some games quite quickly, you kind of don't really feel that really hard hump. The skeleton before was actually wielding a weapon as well, and sometimes a mob wielding a weapon can be harder to fight. They'll just do more damage basically. But this is the experience. You're out in the world. I could just die instantly. I could get attacked by something and die. Something could add on. There are mobs wandering all around me that may just attack me and cause a problem. But even as you can see, like I'm fighting a mob my level, and it's not. My offense skill is starting to go up, which is quite good. And I think after a few fights of that happening, you'll immediately notice, or I'll immediately notice a difference. Essentially, as a little tip for when you're starting out. There's one of those. See, that was the Orc Pawn was the thing that joined in the fight. Crushbone Orc, I guess, but he's one level higher than me, and that would, unless I was very, very lucky, that would be a bit of a death sentence. So I need to come and sit down again, just to gain some hit points. At these levels, your hit points come back quite quickly, so it's not a big deal. But this is very much part of a classic MMO experience, at least from an EverQuest point of view. You're in the world is dangerous. You need to keep your eyes about you. Although I managed to run to the guards there, it's because I've purposely positioned myself near the guards. There's no map, there's no guidance, so following. Particularly at night, Greater Feydark is a nightmare of a zone, easy to get lost in. If you die, obviously your corpse and all your stuff is left on your corpse, so you need to go and find it essentially. As you can see, I've just got a couple of points now into my offense and defense skill, and already things are starting to feel a little bit easier. So it didn't take long, but you do need to get going. But you do feel that progress even at level 1, which I really like. I'm going to skirt the wolf and kill the drone. Just for a little tip for new players, like if you're in a starter zone and there are NPC and there are humanoid type mobs, so Skellingtons or Orcs or whatever it may be, fight those because you've got a chance of getting a lot of different drops from them. If they've got a weapon, they'll be holding the weapon, but you might get armor drops, you might get bag drops, which are quite important early on. Good progress. Yeah, so I think so far we're pretty much cornering what we think a classic MMO is. It's not being led around by the hand. I guess some people will call that theme parky. I just feel that it's a different way of just telling the story. You know, sucking you into the game. There doesn't need to be. You don't need to have, you know, exclamation marks or question marks above NPCs' heads. You can do it all from the writing, essentially. I think that's important. So I think that's a very, very important part of a classic MMO. And then coming out into the world, and it's just very dangerous, you know. And again, you're given no direction. Running off into the mist there could easily lead to a death and a corpse recovery. And if you're not familiar with the zone, you might struggle to find your corpse. It's not always easy. Even if you think you roughly know where you may have died, it's still not always easy to find your corpse. But yeah, sorry, just to keep sidetracking myself. But if you're going to play and you're a new player, then definitely look at humanoid mobs because they have a chance of dropping lots of stuff. In this particular area, I know that, and I just got one. I think I know that these wasps drop these venom sacks, and these sell for a few gold. So I will be kind of targeting those as much as I can to progress. It's funny because in Everquest you don't really have a huge amount to spend your money on at first. It's probably best to save it up and just use drops you get, or if anyone donates stuff to you. You know, like you might think you might go into like a shop in town and buy some starter armor, but the starter armor is very expensive, like unreasonably expensive. Even like a basic set of chain, and you'll probably never buy it. I'm not quite sure why it was ever in shops. Maybe, I guess back in the day, it's kind of like, well, let's put this armor in the shops to sell because it then feels like a shop. But you know, if they'd, I'm sure they did a lot of testing, you know, and I think testing would have shown that there was never really any chance of a new player affording enough money to buy themselves a new breastplate. You know, it's either you use drops, you know, or something that someone has made for you or donated to you, essentially. But this is what I'm going to be doing for the next little while. Is just running around, killing mobs, getting and trying to just accrue as much gold as I can, I guess, to start off with. And I'll be targeting humanoid mobs, as I said. I think what we'll probably do is we've got a couple of quests, so I'll just show you a bit of the zone. So let's run to Felwithe. Felwithe is kind of in the middle of the zone. So we'll head roughly in that direction, being very careful. I think it might be getting dark, and I don't want to get stuck. What's the time? 3 p.m. We've got a few hours yet. I don't want to get stuck in. So here we go. So just a fight that's from an Everquest point of view. So this wasp is now helping his friend. So getting jumped like this is just not unusual, particularly as a new player. I'm backing up here, which is dangerous because if I back into an orc pawn, then we're in trouble. So we've killed one. Okay, so maybe we can take these two. But if something else joins in, then we're running. And I guess also, as you will see, if we talk about the combat just a little bit at the moment, you'd also see that that the combat is very sedately paced. You know, it's although it might seem very basic at the moment, later on, pretty much all classes, even something like a warrior. I know warrior's probably got a reputation for being a bit dull, but even later on, like a warrior will get. I love the idea of the warrior. I never play one, but I love the idea. It's like I think we're going to get attacked by this wolf. Yeah, I thought it would be aggro. I've made myself a few gold so far, so I can probably buy myself a bag, actually, for some extra storage. Let's move back a bit. Yeah, but even something like a melee character like this, like the Paladin, gets loads of utility later on. Like every character has got like such an extensive range of tools to use, like great toolboxes. They said even warriors later on, you're not just limited to swinging your weapons and using the few skills you've got. You know, later on you will get items that have got magic effects on them. So you've got no innate magic, but you use the magic from items essentially to bolster yourself. I think we'll leave that for now. Let's see if we can get to Felwithe before it gets dark. Let's go to first person. So I'm immediately anxious looking around because one, as my wife and my kids will attest to, I'm not a very good, although I want to be, I'm not a very good ranger in real life. So I get lost quite easily. I know roughly in what direction the city is. But this is the anxiety now, you know. It's like I know it's the afternoon. It's going to get dark. When it gets dark, it's going to be pitch. I'm not going to be able to see a thing. But I'm taking a risk trying to get to the city so we can do a couple of quests that we've got. I'm looking out for kind of orcs primarily because they're higher level than me. I think I've maybe come slightly the wrong way because there's a fantastic structure over here. The wizard teleporter thing, very atmospheric. So I think I've come slightly the wrong way, so I need to go this way a bit, west a bit, I think. So let's try that and see what happens. But this is also, I think, very much a part of a classic experience. I think you miss it in as a bandit camp over here, but they're too. Oh. We've been attacked by a pawn who's level 2. Okay, I'm strafing because apparently you run a bit quicker. So I found a road, so I'm going to follow the road. Oh, we're getting chased by a pawn. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run to Felwithe and hope that I can find a guard post at Felwithe. Let's keep ourselves in first person. So, as a tip, use landmarks. Even things like roads are a landmark. Because if I die on the road, at least I know there was a road. So if I can find a road, I can maybe follow it to find out where I was. Oh, here we go. This is Felwithe. It's a bit like Lothlorien, I guess. And there's a guard. Okay, we've made our way here. Cool. That was a bit of an adventure. Oh, holy smoke, I didn't think he was going to help me then. Holy moly. Thanks, guard Brook Rock. That was a bit tense. So we made it, yeah, so and anything could have happened there. I could have just died. I could have got another ad and whatever, and I could have been dead. But we made it. And I think the danger of the world, I think, again, is something that we're missing, like particularly with a lot of the modern MMOs that I play, and even the classic inspired ones. What I think maybe kind of happened. So like I've I've discussed darkness before in previous videos that I've done. And it might sound like I don't like darkness. I think it's pointless. Well, I don't think that. What I think is that I would prefer a darkness that was pitch black, but the game gave me options to overcome that. I think that's the key thing. That's another key thing I think with classic MMOs is that the games had, like Everquest has got so many systems that are so detailed and so intertwined with each other, and they all work fantastically, that something like a pitch black night is not something that in a lesser game like a really dark night would be annoying, but in a game like Everquest where it's just so complex and so detailed, it's not, and part of the reason for that is the fact that it gives you options, you know. So there are races in the game. So, but we're not just talking about. Let's talk about options. I think one of the things that's missing from classic MMOs, modern classic MMOs, in abundance, really, I think it's one of the biggest issues, is that from a darkness point of view. So the game says, here's our darkness. It's pitch black. We don't care what you think about that. But we're not just going to leave you with a pitch black darkness permanently. You know, there are ways that you can improve your character to see better at night, or to help other people see better at night. So, you know, you'll get items with an ability on that will let you see better during the night time, like infravision or ultravision, which is the ultimate one. There are spells that you can cast. Shamans can make potions that you can use that will give you better night sight. So the game is not just telling you, here's this really, really extreme mechanic and we're just going to leave you with it. It's giving you that, but it's also giving you lots of options. The same with like movement speed. My movement speed is quite ponderous at the moment, but as I progress, depending what class you are, you can either make yourself move quicker, you can teleport yourself, you can buy stuff from someone that will allow you to run quicker for a certain period of time. You can get items that will allow you to run quicker. So the game is posing a problem when you're a newbie, but as you progress, it's all about character progression. As you progress, it's giving you options, which is the most important thing. Same goes for all of the other systems. Any system in the game that has ever put you off a classic MMO because you think they're too difficult, the games give you a number of systems to deal with those issues. And that's always the most important thing. I think that what modern MMOs are doing is giving you these classic challenges, but there's absolutely no way to overcome them. So, for example, banks like bag space. I start off with 8 slots, which is quite small. I'm already full up, so I need to go and sell some stuff. But I know as a character that as I progress, I can get better bags. So I could now afford to buy myself a bag with some extra slots. Bags drop from mobs when you kill them. So, as I said, look out for humanoids like the skeleton over here, because there's a strong chance that the skeleton will drop something, whether it's a piece of armour. It's only cloth armour, but it might drop some armour, it might drop a bag, which is, if you get a bag, it's a good win. That's a good feeling to get a bag. So you're kind of increasing your inventory space through actual gameplay. So yeah, so again, you know, the game is posing you an inventory space problem. It doesn't just leave you with that problem. You know, it doesn't let you get to level 30 or 40 or 50 or whatever it may be and say, you've still got the problem. You know, no, we're going to give you solutions. It's the same with things like corpse recovery. Like when I talk to people about corpse recovery, it's one of the things that they hate the most about classic MMOs, and it kind of really puts them off. But what I don't realise is that there are so many options available for a corpse recovery, whether it's someone else helping you. Corpse dragging is one of the best skills in any one of the best mechanics in any game ever. And I think Everquest is the only game. I love corpse dragging just because it's such a fantastic solution. It's like a eureka moment. It's such a fantastic solution to an in-game challenge, or it's one of them anyway. The fact that you can ask someone, generally of much higher standing than you, if they will drag your corpse for you to where you are so you can loot your body and that kind of thing. Corpse dragging, fantastic. No other MMO does it. But it's just one of the amazing systems in Everquest that might seem simple on the face of it, but actually it's pretty amazing. And having Everquest without corpse dragging, it just wouldn't be Everquest. It's one of those systems that allows the game to be what it is. Just so complex, having someone else drag your body to you, you know, just a great solution to corpse recovery. So, and again, it's solving a problem, which is what classic MMOs did. It's allowing you to solve a problem. So it's posing this really, really extreme punishment on you. So you die at the bottom of a dungeon. We've all done it. Oh my God. Even with the options available to you, it's still a bloody nightmare. But the game doesn't just say, off you go. You've just got to fight your way to your corpse or whatever it may be. You know, we're going to give you all these options, whether it's a cleric resing you, you know, asking a friendly cleric to res you, asking a friendly necromancer, or I'm not sure if shadow knights can do it, or paladin to res you even, asking a friendly shadow knight or necromancer to summon your corpse, asking a rogue to stealth and stealth again. You know, maybe a very simple mechanic on the face of it. I know that World of Warcraft had it, but most MMOs don't have some stealth, don't have a really good stealth mechanic. You know, it's quite weird. I just got some cloth cord which I use as a belt for some armor. So as I said, you know, kill those NPCs if you see them, those humanoids, I should say. yeah, there's just so many systems, available to you. So it poses a really extreme problem in a corpse recovery in a dungeon. It gives you loads of options to get around it. You don't just have, you can fight, you can as a group fight your way to your corpse, but that is often not very practical at all. If you get a group wipe, you really need someone to help you, because you haven't got any equipment to fight with, unless you keep spare stuff in your bag. I think unless you've got, I guess, like a pet class who can summon some pets and stuff and you can fight your way there. It's very unusual to fight your way to your corpse from a wipe, a group wipe. So yeah, and it's social interaction as well. But these are just some of the systems, the many systems. I mean, what I'm telling you here are just really just basics with regards to how many systems there are. There are so many complex systems in Everquest that all go to making it what it is, its version of a classic MMO, and I think that's really what we're missing. So many systems. I've spoken previously in videos about my character getting charmed by an NPC, and I was an NPC's pet. I mean, most modern MMOs and modern classic MMOs don't even have charm in them anymore. Some of them don't even have pet classes, and they don't allow you to manipulate mobs in dungeons, whether it's through like a long line of spells, or CC is very much an afterthought. There's not much of it at all. And charming, as I said, forget it. I mean, the fact that EverQuest allows mobs to charm you the other way round, as well as you charming them, it's so complex. I feel kind of sad for people who don't play classic EverQuest or don't try it. Like if you're blown away by systems in World of Warcraft, like, you'll have to take, I don't know, medication playing EverQuest, because World of Warcraft is so dumbed down in comparison to the systems that EverQuest has got. Even like faction systems, like the guards will be on a different faction to merchants. So, potentially the merchants and the guards will judge you differently. Yeah, so this merchant looks on me more kindly than the guard does. There's a very deep, dense, complex faction system within the game, and you can raise and lower factions with all these different groups. As an evil race, you can eventually be allowed into a good city. Takes a lot of work, but even as an Ixar, to a certain extent, you can increase your faction until you can be accepted. It's very much, I like that. It's very much like the Dritz to Erden kind of thing, where you're trying to be accepted by good races, if you want to be, of course, if that's what you're role playing. Yeah, so there are all these complex systems, and I wish people weren't put off of what I guess they class as difficulty in a classic MMO. But what I will say to you is that EverQuest is not difficult. It's complex, but it's not difficult in a sense that maybe you think. It's very time focused. It's very much a time sink. So dying and then finding your corpse is not difficult. It's just about time, taking the time out. And I know that people who play modern MMOs play them for a long time, so have at it. Like, try and get P99 working. You need a copy of Titanium, which is not always easy to obtain, although there are ways, nudge nudge, wink wink, if you know what I mean, of obtaining it. And just go for it and just try it, and you'll be amazed at the complexity. Yes, the game starts off slowly. Yes, the combat is more defined along the slower paced. But once your character starts getting some abilities and stuff, and you start opening up the toolbox of the character, and you go into a dungeon and you realise some of the stuff that you or your group can do to manipulate the environments and the mobs and whatnot, you'll just love it. You'll be hooked. Any MMO player will be, and unless you're playing some really, really simple MMO and that's all you like, that's fine. But if you play an MMO and you like the complexities of it, but you'd like more of that, then EverQuest, P99 or TACP. TACP is probably easy to get running if you want. But yeah, it's just a fantastic experience. And all of that, I think we've kind of reached our conclusion. All of that goes into making a classic MMO. I think the world, how the world introduces itself to you, and how it tells a story, not leading you by the hand. The danger of the world, I'm not going to say difficulty, people keep talking about difficulty level, and I don't think it's a difficulty thing. I think it's a danger thing, which I do think is different. The difficulty is in the time it takes to do something, whether it's level or get your corpse if you die or progress to wherever you want to be. That's more of what it's about. Yeah, and I think also just the complexity of it, you know, the fact that a mob can charm you and use you as a pet. As I said, talked about the faction systems, the toolboxes the characters get. Like even if you've never played Everquest P99 before, go and watch some streams of a group in a dungeon and just look at the complexity of how the combat works and how you as a player interact with the environment and the mobs, and also just the fantastic design of some of the dungeons. Like Guck is just amazing, and I will go in Guck and do some leveling in there, but just the way it's designed, the way the mobs behave, the verticality of a dungeon, which I think is really important. Yeah, just fantastic. This has turned out to be a bit of a love letter to classic Everquest, I guess, and rightly so. Yeah, and I do recommend anyone just try if you get the option, just try it. I don't think you'll be, even if you don't stick with it because there's something about it you just don't like, I don't think you'll be disappointed in the detail and the complexities that the game has. But anyway, I think that's it. Thanks for watching. I think we've kind of summed it up. I think we've kind of worked out what classic MMO is, and I think we've kind of worked out what modern classic MMOs are missing. Some of that is obviously to do with budgetary constraints. Things like a faction system. I have no idea how easy it was to implement the faction system in Everquest. I imagine it was very complex and it took a lot of time. So I'm not asking for all of these systems to be in a modern take of a classic MMO, but I do think there are non-negotiables. And while all of the classic MMOs kind of have one or two of these non-negotiables, I think where they really, really fall down is on the options that you're given as a character and your progress through the game. You know, Everquest, as I said before, is a dangerous game. It's a slow game. But at no point does the game not supply you with answers to any of the difficult challenges it's giving you. And I think that's probably the thing that I've taken away over the last year or so talking about classic MMOs and coming back and playing Everquest and getting into Everquest again, is that it needs that complexity, you know. And I think that if you're not able for whatever reason to incorporate that complexity into your game to a certain extent, I think, yeah, I just don't think that we're getting the heart and soul of a classic MMO. But there you go. It's been a long video. I've talked enough. You're probably fed up with it by now. But just for those people looking for more EverQuest content, this is going to be something that I'm going to be doing going forward. I want to try out some new classes. Like these characters are going to be dirty twinks probably sooner rather than later, but I would like to go through the leveling process a bit, just as a new character. But also, as I said, if you're going to try it out, then just just use it as a I'm not sure quite what to call it. I don't want to call it, like, use it as an education tool to see what is. I guess maybe use it as an education tool to see what is actually possible in an MMO. As I said, it's going to be a slow start, and you might get frustrated, particularly if you're going to play the game, and you're concerned about the pace of you getting into the game. Maybe choose something like a necromancer to start off with, or a mage, or a class that is fairly strong, kind of out of the gates. Pet classes are kind of very good out of the gates, and you'll certainly make quicker progress than, say, a paladin, for example, if you're a new player. Druids are recommended as well, but again, at the beginning of the game, they're pretty much hitting things to kill them. They don't do much damage if you're a new player, untwinked, obviously. So I would maybe look at a pet class just to get you into it, see how you get on. But yeah, I think that's it. I think I've summed up. I think we've kind of worked out what a classic MMO needs. I think what I'm finding at the moment is the modern takes on them are kind of taking something from a classic MMO, but we're just missing so much of the other stuff that I think that makes them. Yeah, but hopefully there's a game coming along out there that will do that. You know, it's fingers crossed, because we're all looking for it. You know, there are so many of us that still want it. You know, we're desperate for it. There is a market there. But for whatever reason, people are bouncing off the games that we're currently being offered. Yeah, hopefully we get a hit anyway. Thanks for watching, and I'll speak to you again soon.